Okay. Ki lekach tov natati lachem Torati al tazovu Eitz chayim hi lemachazikim ba V'tom ha-me'usha diracheha B'chenoam v'chol netivoteha Shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Play ball. Study Torah. Yep. Here it is. It is a. All right. For I have given you good instruction. Do not abandon my Torah. It is a tree of life for those who hold fast to it, and all its supporters are happy. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Return us to you, Adonai, and we will return. Renew our days as of old. That's a good theme for the at this time of year.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
So I couldn't really find this, the Genesis 21. I'm sure it's on the Reformed Judaism site, but I pulled up Torah, a modern commentary on my Kindle. So we will read from that tonight, and I will share my screen. If it's too small, let me know immediately. Because
yeah, it all deals with like when Isaac was born, and then in chapter 22, when God tells him to take Isaac. Yeah.
That's right. So that's the second part, right? So we'll do two.
Yep.
So this traditionally is in Rosh Hashanah the morning of, and then the 22 is in the evening. Dr. Seisher. Yes, he's shaking his head. We're just gonna get. Okay. Who would like to start reading? Cynthia.
Okay. The Eternal now remembered Sarah. The Eternal did for Sarah as promised, so that she became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the exact time God had told him. Abraham named his newborn son, whom Sarah had borne to him, Isaac. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. Sarah said, God has brought me laughter. All who hear will laugh with me. And she added, who would have dared say to Abraham, Sarah shall nurse children, yet I have borne a son in his old age. The child grew and was weaned, and on Isaac's weaning day, Abraham held a great feast. Now Sarah saw the son that Hagar, the Egyptian, had borne to Abraham playing.
Cynthia, can you stop for just 1 second? Mike, if you go back to the beginning of the paragraph, let me make a comment.
Yeah.
Okay, when Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, one thing that we need to point out is that in Hebrew, Itzhak means laughter.
Ah, so that's why they named him Isaac.
Yes, that's true.
And Ruthie confirms it. Boop. All right, now where were we? Number 9, right? At 9?
Okay. Now Sarah saw the son that Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham playing, and she said to Abraham, throw this slave girl and her son out. The son of this slave girl is not going to share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. This grieved Abraham greatly on account of his son. But God said to Abraham, do not be grieved over the boy or your slave. Do whatever Sarah tells you, for it is through Isaac that offspring shall be called yours.
So just to point out too, I love it that the Hebrew is here. So because number one, I think like Mike says, because you can read Hebrew, Mike, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's reading side by side. This is a linear, almost a linear translation here from the Hebrew to the English. What else is noticeable to me as a Hebrew and Bar Mitzvah tutor, it has all of the notated marks for trope, which is the tune that we use that tells us what to sing for each syllable, actually, not even just each word, but it's kind of almost each syllable. So you see those extra, well, they're probably all looking like extra characters to you.
No, I definitely can see it. Ellie's lost and now she's found. Hold on, she's back. Yeah. No, I definitely see it. Yeah, I see there's like marks that go up and
Like that.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So,
Yeah, that's what they are.
because in the old days up on the hills,
true.
that's how the cantors would tell the people in the valleys, or whomever, or not in the valleys, you can't see that far away, but that's what they used hand signals as far as to almost like conducting the congregation. It's the hand signals so that the congregation knew how to chant. So there's certain ways to do things.
Also,
Maybe
Mike,
towards the end of this, if you want to go back to like the first verse, I can chant it for you when we're all done.
Hey, wow.
yeah, and that's the only thing I wanted to add that Lauren said is that, and she knows this, of course, being a bat mitzvah tutor, is that when a bat mitzvah boy or girl, bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, they learn that trope. Some of them do, I should say, learn that trope to chant. Okay, so that chanting that you hear in the Torah is those symbols. So that's what she's talking about. It's not only when you're a bar mitzvah, it comes also when you do
all the time.
Yeah.
Via hafta, because that's right out of the
Yeah,
Torah.
the after is with the trope. Yeah. So
right, the via hafta is the prime example because it's in our liturgy, but it's pulled right from Torah. You'll find that in
The via hafta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Anyway.
fantastic. I was just trying to find, was it Yitzhak? How do you say it in Hebrew? Isaac?
Yitzchak.
Yitzchak.
Which means
So I see, okay, so number 4, his name's there. Where is his name in Hebrew? I'm trying to find,
See what the number 4 is?
Yes, here.
Okay, it's not really, it's right before it's right before the 4.
Right here.
Because that's the end of 3.
Okay.
That's Yitzhak in Hebrew. And then if you go down to, so that same line from number 4, from that 4, it's at the end, et Yitzhak. At the number 4.
Yeah.
At the end.
Over here.
The very last word.
Yeah.
That's
After
right
the hyphen.
Yeah. At Yitzhak.
Yud, Tzadi, Chet, and Kuf.
Kuf.
Right. And Mike, the interesting thing is that, when we're talking about a trope that the kids have to say, and of course, if you're going to chant it, that's the way
you do
say
it. You have to do it.
The Gregorian chants were patterned after this.
I believe
Yes, it was.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Now go down to verse 6. I'm going to point out the word that Mike said was laughter. It's the third word in. It's sechok.
Sechot. Yeah.
Sechok ends in the kuf.
Yeah. Sechot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you
Sechok.
read it, sechok, asa is the word after, and li. So asa means to do. O say shalom. Asa, to do, to make laughter. The word, so a little Hebrew lesson.
That is awesome. I love it. Well, Ruthie, could you pick it up at 13?
Yes, sure. I can do that.
Thanks.
Yet I will also make a nation out of the children of the slave's son, for he too is your offspring. Early next morning, Abraham got up and took bread and a water skin and handed them to Hagar, placing them and the boy on her shoulder. Then he cast her out. Trudging away, she wandered aimlessly in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was all gone, she cast the child away under a bush. She walked away and sat down on the other side at a remove of about a bow shot, thinking, let me not see the child's death. There on the other side she sat and wept in a loud voice. God heard the boy's cry, and from heaven an angel of God called to Hagar and said, what is troubling you, Hagar? Have no fear, for God has heard the cry of the lad where he is. Get up. Wait a minute. Get up. Okay. Get up, lift the boy, and hold him with your hand, for I am going to make of him a great nation. God then opened her eyes, and she saw a well. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy to drink. God was with the boy, and he grew up. He lived in the wilderness and became a bowman. He lived in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife from the land of Egypt. At that time, Abimelech and Pichol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in all that you do. Swear to me now that you will not be false to me, my progeny or my posterity. Do me and the land in which you have, in which you have been staying as much kindness as I've done to you. Abraham replied, I will swear. Do you want me to continue? Okay. But Abraham rebuked Abimelech on account of the water well that Abimelech's servants had stolen. And Abimelech replied, I do not know who did this. You certainly never told me, nor did I ever hear of it until today. Abraham then took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and 2 of them forged a treaty. Abraham then set aside 7 lambs of the flock. When Abimelech said, what do these 7 lambs that you have set aside signify? Abraham replied, so that you take the 7 lambs from me as my testimony that I dug this well. That is why that place is called Beersheba, for there the 2 of them took an oath. What does Beersheba mean?
May I make a comment at this point?
Please, I'd like to know what Beersheba means too.
Okay, well, I'm sure that you know that. The son of Hagar and Abraham, his name was Ishmael.
Ishmael, yes.
And
Right.
Ishmael is considered to be the Arab nations.
Right.
That's correct.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I know.
That one I know.
But I wanted to understand, what does Beersheba mean?
Beersheba?
Yeah, Beersheba. What does it mean?
I guess it does mean, Lauren?
I don't know.
He was
It might
talking
be at
about
the bottom of
where
the
they make
commentary.
the oath, I would guess.
Is it
Beersheba.
the
Oh,
commentary
look
at
at
the
this.
bottom?
Lauren is correct. Go to the bottom for the commentary.
Oh,
What
there
is
it is.
well of 7 or well of oath? Okay, got
Well
it.
of
Oh,
7.
very
The well
good.
of oaths, yeah.
Well of oath. Okay, I got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Neat.
I always wanted to know that. I've been to Beersheba in Israel. That's why I wanted to know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well of
Yeah.
7.
I have family who live in Beersheba.
I have family in Beersheba too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, it's kind of funny that you said, oh, look at that, there's commentary at the bottom. And that's usually what I am reading from when I make my comments during our,
Well, you tipped me off to that. I remember in the temple, the books that we read on Saturdays, we'd have the commentary underneath them.
Yeah.
And
The
tons of,
commentary is
like,
very important. It really is.
different
and it is,
stories.
it's incredibly important. And it puts a lot of things into perspective sometimes, and sometimes
Right.
it's a little more confusing.
Yep.
So, Ruthie, why don't you finish up that last few lines there?
Where I said
Number
they forged,
32.
32.
yeah.
They forged a treaty in Beersheba. Then Abimelech and Pichol, the commander of his army, got up and returned to the land of the Philistines, while Abraham planted a tamarisk and called upon the name of the Eternal, the everlasting God. He stayed in the land of the Philistines a long time.
Mhm.
So what's a
And they were
planted a
talking about-
tamarisk? Look at that.
Yeah.
Planted a tamarisk.
Tamarisk the tree.
It's a
It's a tree, a similar tree planting ceremony, survived in later Jewish tradition.
a planting
Okay.
of joy.
Later, they called the planting of joy. Is that when we do the planting of the trees in February?
Tu B'Shvat?
Yeah, that's not Tu
Tu
B'Shvat.
B'Shvat.
Yeah, is
Tu
that,
B'Shvat well,
is
Tu
it
B'Shvat
from
is-
this, is it from this saying? No, I'm just wondering, okay.
Tu B'Shvat is the new year of the trees.
Oh,
Yeah.
just the of the trees, okay.
So it's one of our many New Years.
New Year's.
I know, we have
a
many,
lot of them.
I do know that, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Well, as far as I remember, Mike, Abimelech was the landlord of most of the area where they were staying.
Hmm.
And so they were sort of like paying rent to Abimelech in order to be there.
Mhm.
And then eventually, if you remember, when Sarah died, Abraham bought
He bought
the cave.
And Machpelah.
Machpelah.
So in effect, they were paying for everything.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
caves of Machpelah.
The cave of Machpelah.
Okay, great.
This is a very knowledgeable group, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I can learn. All right, so that wraps up that chapter, and that does talk about. It's so good, you know, as Dr. Mike said, that the promises of God extend to the descendants of Ishmael as well as Isaac. So
Yes,
very good to know that and to remember.
because they were both offspring of Isaac.
But the Torah does describe Ishmael in a more negative light, though. Because it says he's a wild ass of a man. That's exactly what the Torah says.
That's what the Torah says about me too. Ha ha.
Yeah, and that he's kind of like an adversary.
Yeah.
Something that he's always like in somebody's face. I forget the exact wording.
Kicks at the
but
pricks or something, doesn't it? That's
very negative.
Yeah, he kicks against things. It's like kicking. Yeah, he's always fighting things.
Okay, and Mike, I think that we should also mention something else.
Yes.
And that is both Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they all believe that Abraham was the started, was like the patriarch.
He was the father.
That's why we are the three Abrahamic religions.
Yes, that's fantastic. Father
But-
Abraham.
It was Father Abraham. Yes.
Right.
Does Christianity feel that way too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they
Oh,
say
I
that
didn't know
too.
that. No,
Yep.
I didn't know how that, I
Yes.
never understood how that cued into Christianity. I never really understood that. Okay.
Yeah, Ruthie, those three, we are called the Abrahamic religions.
Okay.
Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
In Islam. Yeah.
See, where I always get confused about Christianity is I thought Christianity only started with Christ. So how does it go back to Abraham? That's where I have trouble understanding.
Because-
No. Okay, and
Jesus
Michael,
was a descendant of David.
Michael can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not going to correct anybody tonight. I'm here to learn.
But Jesus was a descendant of David. Was the house of David.
Right.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Put those words back up, Mike, too, please.
Yeah.
Okay, as far as I know, and Mike, you correct me if you think that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
What the Christians believe is that you have God, Jesus, and you have the Trinity.
Yes.
That's
So you have
Catholics.
you have God, the Son of God, or God, the Messiah, because Christ or Christos is a Greek name, and that means Messiah.
Yes.
So
Right,
it is Jesus the Messiah.
Right.
So you've
Right,
got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Right.
But Michael, I think they do that. I think that's Catholicism. That does the Trinity.
It's all Christian.
Does all Christianity do the Trinity?
The Trinity is
Oh, I never knew that either.
in the.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought it was just Catholicism. Okay.
I've heard Reverend Joe discuss it many times.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
It's a different concept. I think the best way I understood it was when because we say that it's one, right? That my camera went out all of a sudden. But we say it's all one. So it's almost like we have a body, we have a mind, and we have a soul. So there's like we're all one in our body, mind, and soul. And so many people believe, well, at least this is how I think of it, is that the God he can be an infinite. he or she. But when we look at it from a body, mind, and soul perspective, it can be, you can kind of almost divide it in the same kind of way. Like, I think of it a lot of times as God is the body because he created physical matter. And then the soul is the Holy Spirit because it's more of the soul aspect, the Wi-Fi of God in a lot of ways. And then the Son is the mind to conceive all the things that we need to think. That's how I look at it, but I don't think a lot of Christians look at it that way.
Well, in Judaism, you know, they talk about the spirit of God. You talk about the Shekinah.
That's right, the
The
Shekinah, right?
Shekinah is the spirit.
That's right, yeah.
Which is also a female word. That word
That's
is
correct.
Ooh,
That's a
nice.
female
It's the
word.
feminine part of God.
feminine. Thank you. Feminine.
Yes,
That's cool. I like that
It
idea.
is.
I like
Okay,
that.
and Mike, you remember, I think that we've said it before, but now that we're talking about that it is feminine, one of the things that we need to realize is that according to just about everybody who has read comparative religion, Judaism is the most matriarchal of all religions.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, why do you come with?
Didn't start that way.
In other religions, the Muslims have absolutely no women at all.
Right.
Period. Okay. The
Well,
Christians,
they actually have Mary.
but those are Christians.
No, but they believe in Mary, the mother of Jesus, though.
They do?
Yeah, they do.
Oh,
really? I
In
never
fact,
knew
many of
that.
my Muslim friends point that out to me. They say Mary is the most revered woman in all of Islam. That's
Really?
Mike, the first night when I,
Never knew that.
the first multi-faith service that I came to,
yes.
and on March 1st, 2018, I was really surprised when I heard the imam talking about Mary.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
I didn't
interesting.
know that.
it is.
That's
It's
something really interesting.
I think her name is Mary, like it's Mary with an A-N at the end, so it's like Mary.
Miriam.
And I thought,
Miriam.
when I first looked at it, I was just looking at the Quran the other day, and I was looking at it,
Miriam.
and I thought it was Miriam, Moses' sister, because they also have
Yeah.
Moses.
Yeah,
and
I know.
everything else.
Miriam, I think it is.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. If you pick up a Quran, you'll be like, "Whoa, this is all the same kind of thing, but in a different light." You know, it's fascinating how closely tied together we all are. We are absolutely.
That's correct, because
That's
it's
the way I-
the Abraham, what Michael was saying, it's the
Mike,
Abrahamic religions.
Mike, only 3 religions, the Abrahamic religions.
Right.
Mhm.
The other ones are different.
The other ones are different. But I will say this though too, because when we were first starting the multi-faith, as Gary was talking about, there was a woman who was Buddhist, and she was talking about the 3 aspects of Buddhism that the Christians were like, yeah, that's kind of how we think of it too, you know. And it's like, I mean, so even if, I mean, and it's interesting to me too that a lot of people that I know that are Jewish, they sometimes go into Buddhism as well because it feels right to them. There's something
Very spiritual.
Yeah.
Very spiritual, right? Yeah.
It's all kind of what I like to think of it as, we're all kind of floating down the same river, but we all are in different boats, you know. It's not that far, we're not that far
I
off.
like that.
Good way to put it.
I like that, Mike. That's a good thing.
Different
You can
boats on
use-
different rivers, but they all lead to the same place.
Yeah,
No,
they
he's
lead to
talking about the same river in different boats, and that's I like that.
Yeah.
And I love cruising on boats, so I'm very happy.
Anything else, Dr. Seischer? Anything?
Well, I think I'm going to make a comment, but after we read 22.
Okay.
Okay.
Who wants to read 22? Bracha, are you there? Can you read 22?
And this is specifically written into the Rosh Hashanah prayer books. Like it's built right into it. You don't have, it's not in a separate. So go ahead.
Wonderful. So go ahead, Bracha.
After these things, God tested Abraham, saying to him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. God said, Take your son, your only one, the one you love, Isaac, and go forth to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I will show you.
Okay, hold on. Bracha, hold on right there. And I'm glad that we have the Hebrew. Mike, there is a word in here that only shows up in the Bible twice. Here I am. And the Hebrew is Hineni.
Hineni. Where's
Hineni, if
Oh,
you pronounce
Hineni.
it Hebrew.
Just before 2. Go down just before 2.
okay, right
Hineni,
here.
right there.
That's it.
It
Okay.
means here I am.
Hineni.
Here I am.
Or Hineni.
Or Hineni, yes, but Hineni is the
Hineni.
Hebrew pronunciation.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Hineni.
And this is
it only shows up in the Tanakh twice.
yes,
Mhm.
Here is one. Do you know where the other one is?
no.
Moses?
Moses.
Yes, Moses.
Moses went up
Moses.
the mountain.
Yeah.
Oh,
He says,
yes,
Hineni, here I
yes,
am.
yes, yes.
Okay, he heard God say, Moses,
Yes.
Moses, and he says, Hineni.
Hineni. Right.
Yep, yep. So, and that's similar here because he's yelling. That Abraham isn't just saying to him, Abraham, it's like, Abraham, where are you?
Mm-hmm.
He says,
And
here I am.
he's flipping himself around saying, I'm right here, God, I'm right here. Just a little side thing. When I was teaching in the classroom for Hebrew, my 5th grade students, and taking attendance, usually you say lo po, I'm either here or I'm not here, po or lo po. But I told my kids, if they say po,
Hineni.
it means nothing to me. I want them to be ready to study and be in class.
He says,
Hineni.
Hineni.
Hineni is a stronger,
I'm here.
it says I'm ready. I'm ready to do
ready.
God's work. So
Right.
Hineni.
He
That's
named
how I
That's what
taught
he's
them
saying.
Hineni.
And I
And that's
think
what Moses was saying when he said it. Here I am, God. I'm ready to do what you asked me to do.
Absolutely.
And I believe, does Samuel say this too to Eli when God's waking up Samuel? Does anyone know this?
Nope.
And I think he says, "Here I am," and he goes to Eli, who is the in charge of the temple, and Eli's like, "I didn't call you," and Samuel went back. This was when Samuel was younger.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think he says the same thing. Here I am, but I don't. Yeah, so it might be 3
have to
times.
find me a
Dr.
passage.
Fisher. I don't know.
To see the passage.
In the prophets,
I'm going to look it up,
Oh, yeah,
Mike.
in the yeah,
in the
well,
I think
prophets.
it's probably in the
it's
prophets.
Chronicles.
Yeah.
I think it's the first.
We'll have to look it up.
First Chronicles. Yes. Anyway, so that's great. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Well, it might be in the Christian Bible. It may not be in the Tanakh.
Yeah, could be. I don't
It
know.
could
I think
be.
it's in the prophets. I don't think it's in the Bible.
Well, in the prophets.
Torah.
Yeah.
Chronicles.
If it's Samuel, it'd have to be. Right.
First Samuel. Yeah, First Samuel.
Sam 1. Sam
Okay,
1.
so we're at number 3, I think, right? Bracha?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do I continue?
Yes, please.
Abraham rose early, saddled his donkey, chopped wood for the burnt offering, took Isaac his son and his 2 lads, and set out for the place that God had spoken of to him. On the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place from afar. Abraham said to his servant lads, "Stay here with the donkey. The lad and I will go yonder. We will worship and return to you." Abraham then took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac, his son. In his own hand, he held the firestone and the knife, and the 2 of them went on together. Isaac then said to Abraham, his father, "Father," he answered, "Here I am, my son." And Isaac said, "Here is the firestone and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham replied, "God will see to the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them went on together. They came to the place that God had shown him. There, Abraham built the altar and arranged the wood and bound Isaac, his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Abraham now reached out and took the knife to slay his son. But out of heaven, an angel of the Eternal called to him, saying, "Abraham, Abraham." He replied, "Here I am." The angel then said, "Do not lay your hand on the lad. Do nothing to him. For now I know that you are one who fears God, as you did not withhold your son, your only one, from me." Abraham lifted his eyes. He now could see a ram Just after he was caught by its horns in a thicket, Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. Abraham named that place Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. To this day, people say, on the mount of the eternal, God will be seen.
Let me make a comment on what we have already read.
Yes, sir.
This
Yes,
is one
please.
of the most famous passages in the whole Bible.
Yes.
Right.
And the highest interpretation, if you go to with biblical scholars and so forth and so on, okay, is that this is a morality tale. And the morality tale is, if Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son and God said, no, we, the Jewish people, are not permitted to sacrifice children for anything because all the nations around us were doing that.
Absolutely.
So this one here says, don't do it. Don't sacrifice. There's no more children sacrifice with us, and it never
It's
happened
immoral.
after that.
Mm-hmm.
Can I comment on something too? Because it's one of my favorite themes in here is when Abraham looks up and sees the ram. Because a lot of times in life, like, you know, you're in a situation and you feel like there's no way out or not necessarily a better alternative. And sometimes it's only because you're not looking in the right place. I don't think that, you know, was that ram there all the time waiting and Abraham just looked up at the right time? Or did it just show up? Whatever. But either way, he looked up and saw it. It's like the fact that he looked up, like he wasn't totally aware of what, you know, what was around him, and he looked up and he saw it. So it's important to be aware of that oftentimes there is that better alternative, but you just have to be looking for it to see it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Mhm.
That was
Good
beautiful.
point.
Very good.
Are we at 15 now?
We're 15.
Would
Do
you
I
like to
continue?
Yes, please.
Then out of heaven, an angel of the eternal called to Abraham a second time, saying, by myself I swear, says the eternal one, that because you did this thing and did not withhold your son, your only one, I will bless you greatly and make your descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven and the sands of the seashore, and your descendants shall take possession of the gates of their foes. And through your descendants, the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you hearkened to my voice. Abraham then returned to his servant lads. They got up and traveled together to Beersheba, and Abraham settled in Beersheba.
Why don't I read? I'll read. Is that all right? And
Okay.
after all these things, Abraham was told the following: Milcah, she too has borne sons to your brother Nahor. Uz, his firstborn, his brother Buz, Kemuel, father of Aram, Buz,
Booze.
Hesed, Hazo, Paldish, Dash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel fathered Rebekah. That should be taken note of.
Mhm.
These 8 did Milcah bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, her name was Rumah. She too bore Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Ma'akah.
They were very busy birthing people.
They had a lot of babies.
Oh gosh! All right, what else can we say? All right, how do you prepare for the new year? I mean, do you? It's not like Passover, right? We have to clean out the hametz and all that.
Well, I'll tell you,
Well, no,
everybody
we have
has
to
their
clean
own
the house.
traditions, but I can tell you what we do in my family, and it's very different than probably because my family are not very learned about Judaism. I just tell them that every year, if you have any amends you have to make to anyone, this is the time to do it. And
Right.
also, I always talk to them about what you can do this year to make yourself a better person for not only yourself, but for your community and things like that. And so we go around the table and we talk about the things that we can make a difference for this year after we make our amends. I got to tell you just one funny story about my granddaughter when she was 2 years old. She was 2 or 3. we were going around the table and my son-in-law said, gee, I don't know if I have anything to make amends to. And the little 3-year-old, she says, oh, yes, you do. And she went into a whole litany of stuff. It was a riot. She said, you didn't do this when we were at the restaurant, and you didn't do this. And she went through this whole litany. It was so funny. I'll never forget that. I just had to share that.
What we really supposed to do is, you're supposed to make amends to anybody that you have offended, and ask for their forgiveness.
That's right.
This is what you have to, part of what you do, Teshuva. And what Ruth said, think about what you can do in your life to make things better, not only for yourself, but for other people.
Right, for other people, right.
This is what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so Michael, I have an answer for you when you said, if for Passover you do physical things because you clean the house in order to make it, Passover ready.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What we do for Rosh Hashanah is that you cleanse your soul.
Right.
Mm.
That's beautiful.
That's the truth.
It's true.
Teshuva. It's a time of
morning.
teshuva.
Right.
Every morning I listen to the Shofar in the whole month of Elul, and we have the Women's Rabbinic Network that I get from Lauren, and there are a couple of rabbis who talk about spiritual things, and I do that every morning to prepare myself for the day,
Wow.
so that my day becomes much more spiritual.
Beautiful.
It's important.
That's beautiful. Lauren, go for it.
I'm raising my hand because
You're so well behaved.
I am. I'm trying. Anyway, it's part of my teshuva.
Because she's
My
on the
cleansing.
record.
What?
It's being recorded, that's why.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so this whole month of Elul that we're going through, it consists of 29 days leading up to Rosh Hashanah. The week, I think we mentioned it last week or the week before. I don't know, was I on last week? We talked about the Saturday before Rosh Hashanah. It's usually a week before. It's always slichot, the Hebrew word slichot, coming from the word slicha, which means to excuse. It's the night of forgiveness. It's the night that we kind of contemplate. We've been contemplating for 3 weeks, and then we come to this night before, the Saturday night before Rosh Hashanah, where we culminate as a community what we've been contemplating for the past 3 weeks, and we start our forgiveness process even further, go deeper into it, the excusing our souls, our sins, coming up to Erev Rosh Hashanah. So there's really an entire Jewish component. I think this year, and I don't know about others, but I know for Maureen and some of us, this year actually seemed to be more of prominent. Elul seems to be more prominent because we're apart.
Yes.
And we're doing things.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
We are doing things that help us feel connected.
Yeah.
Not only to the community, but to ourselves, because there's such a huge disconnect this year for all of us. And it's not just the physical disconnect, it's the mental disconnect, it's the social, it's everything.
Yeah.
So, I've been doing a lot of that contemplation and singing and sending out music. And Maureen just sent some music, but I try to send it out to we have our choir group, and we've been sending out Zamir is doing some beautiful Jewish music.
Beautiful, really beautiful.
But these are the things as a community. We're all getting songs from Bunny, our music director, and they're making us think and prepare and be more open to welcoming Teshuvah.
Yeah.
And I think that even if we don't feel that way, I think it's happening. It
really is.
Yes.
It's the hope and the faith. It's groups like us tonight. every Monday that are bringing us closer and closer to, you know, not only to each other, but it's an inner
To
closeness
ourselves, to our
to
spiritual
ourselves.
selves.
Yeah.
It's very important.
And it is very important. And that to me is how I'm preparing myself for Rosh Hashanah. And, you know, those 10 days of awe in between, there's always 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, those 10 days of awe, the 10 days of repentance.
Right.
That's the time that you go, physically go and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, for anything that you've done wrong. So if I did anything to any
Inadvertently,
of you,
inadvertently, you might have done something wrong, and you ask for forgiveness. You don't just stoop.
yeah. But the beauty of Judaism is that they don't have to forgive you. You have to ask.
You have to
make
ask. They don't
the
want to do
effort.
it. It's on them.
You have to
You
make
have
the
to ask.
effort. The effort and the consciousness of the act. And I don't know. Have we absolved? I don't.
Well, that's the thing is that if you're asking for forgiveness from God, that's something else. For sins against God, then you know if you're forgiven or not. But when you ask for forgiveness for another person, maybe they will and maybe they won't. But if they don't, you have still done what you have supposed to do.
Yeah. See, I feel that if I've wronged somebody, I've also wronged God.
Interesting.
If
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
that's
done,
true,
if I
too.
have wronged you in any way, I've somehow did something not in the good light of God.
So that's encouraged that you tell people if you wrong them in Judaism.
Yeah.
That's heavy. That's heavy. I don't think that's really a Christian thing for us. I don't think we have that.
We do everything, and we also in our prayers in the high holidays, nothing is I, it's we have sinned. So if one of us, just one of us, let's say one of us stole, we have to say we have stolen.
That's right.
We have transgressed. And that's what I love about Judaism. Judaism
Community.
isn't about I, it's about we. It's about
communal.
community. That's what I
Only
love
twice.
about Judaism. Yeah, I love that about it. That's
It's communal. You're not, actually, it's not supposed to, you're supposed to pray with other people. You're not supposed to pray by yourself. That's why
Except
they
for
have a
that-
minyan. That's why they have
except-
10 people.
that's why we have a minion, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Except for that one phrase that I mentioned last week, Adonai Sifatai Tita.
What do you want
The
to think?
English is open my mouth.
Yeah.
It's not we. It's the
Yeah.
only time. There's another time, and I just can't get my hands on it. That's the only time that it's
Yeah.
about I.
Right.
And in the Bible, when it says "Imeinani li mili ishachani liatzmi matni v'imlo akshave matai matai," that's about if I am not for myself, who
Well,
am I?
I
Who
will.
for me? Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, so that's the other time where it's about yourself a little bit, but
Right, but not in prayer.
not in
No,
prayer.
no,
That's true.
no.
That's true. Imeinani li mili. It's a big
Yeah,
thing.
that's right. It's a
You know,
big
if
thing.
I am not for myself, who
Who would be for me?
Who-
And if I'm
who-
only
who-
for myself,
Right.
what am I? If not now, when?
If not now,
I
when?
just
Right.
remembered it in my head. I'm so excited.
Dear Hillel.
You
God
did
bless
very
you all.
well, because I don't know the whole thing. You did
I
very
used to
well.
know the
Anyway,
song to that.
does anyone want to add about how they've prepared themselves for High Holy Days? If you've even prepared yourself, whether it's mentally, physically, anything.
The way I'm
I
doing
feel
it,
like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, the way that I'm doing it is, it has to do with my family because they don't practice. So for me, it's very important to give them something that they can take for themselves and use it for the whole year. And
Right.
now it's gotten to the point that they do look forward for me coming to explain it, even though they forget every year.
Mhm.
It's really nice that I really prepare for not only for them, but for how I need to represent myself in a way that is authentic for myself as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
So that's right.
I would love to hear if anybody else, like Cynthia or Ellie or Racha, Michael, even
I'm going to take a crack at it since I have been a shofar blower for many years. You know, way back.
so far so good.
Okay.
Oh, you did it. You did it.
Again.
So one of the things that, many years ago really resonated with me is a saying that we have, and the saying is the following. On Yom Kippur, when God hears the sound of the shofar, he rises from the throne of judgment and sits on the throne of mercy.
Wow.
Thank you.
Awful.
Amen.
Woo!
Super.
Really great. That's fabulous. And
That's
see, I got my
great.
chauffeur right here. I was going to blow it. You
Whoa.
Yes, Ruthie.
want me to
I wanna
blow it
hear it.
now?
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, let me try. I haven't done it for a while, so
Takia.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. I get it in a minute. That's the tequila.
Hey,
It's a
I
lot.
couldn't do
It's a
that.
lot.
You can do that.
Tequila Gadola.
I'll take it. I don't want to do the big one.
Wait a minute. I got to get it going. Wait a minute. I lost my breath. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. That's awesome.
I want you to know that in 1970s, I was the chauffeur blower at Wellesley College because my friend was the Hillel director there, and I did the whole chauffeur service then. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
you didn't know that about me. Another little
I
old
like all this stuff to know about you. This is good.
Mike, will you blow the shofar next week, Monday? Are we meeting Monday?
Well,
Yeah.
oh, I can blow the chauffeur next week. I get my chauffeur with me all the time.
I know that.
Have you seen this video at all? This is something that was shared. You recognize this?
Oh,
Ian?
yeah, that's what I listen to every morning.
Sure, that's
That's Ed Weiner. And I listen
Ed
to that
Weiner.
We
every
don't
morning.
have the sound.
he blows
Mike.
it every morning. Yeah.
Mike, can you put the sound to us?
Oh, you can't hear the sound?
No.
No, you have to do something.
Start from the beginning.
It's
I think
not.
start from the beginning. Go ahead.
He can.
Here it is. Here it is.
Yeah, every morning.
And that's a real
Very
rainbow.
nice.
That's how I start.
It's nice that he does it outside. Look at that gorgeous rainbow in the background.
The only day you don't do it is Shabbos.
Well, guys, you guys have been so sweet.
Well, it's been a great. I love this. I'm so glad, Gary, you included me, you guys.
It was all Gary's idea. It was like,
Gary, this is great. Really
Well,
is.
you know,
Thank you.
you know. Thank you. It's great to have you all.
It's important.
great.
it really is. It's fabulous. It's fabulous. So
I'll tell you, I just keep this all spiritual thing is happening again. For a while, I was just sort of nowhere. And now it's back again, and I'm so glad.
You know what I'm interested in is, does everybody pray at all during the day? And if you pray, what prayers do you say?
You mean on a
Pray
regular
every
basis?
day.
On a regular basis or for high
Yes,
No, just like on
Every
a
day.
regular basis, like every day. Yeah, Bracha, how do you
every day.
Every morning I say a prayer.
Yeah. Say the prayer when you get up in the morning.
Yeah, every
To thank you,
morning,
God, for another day.
right?
Thank you, God, for giving me another day.
I'm
Every
grateful that I
day,
wake up.
Can we
every
let
day.
Bracha-
That's right.
Can we
I thank
let Bracha
God
talk?
for when I'm up.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Every day, Shachris and Mincha.
Good.
And Mincha, I will say no matter where I am,
Mincha?
because it's in late afternoon.
The afternoon service.
Afternoon.
Yes.
How long are these
Yes.
prayers? Where can I find them?
Ma'ariv.
Oh, they're in the regular
Oh,
prayer book, not the Shabbat.
They are
prayer.
in your Siddur.
In the Siddur, in the
Shachris
regular
for the
daily
morning.
Siddur. Right.
Oh.
And
I was
then,
thinking it'll be cool
and
too.
then
You can do the
there's,
morning blessings. You could do the morning blessings too.
Morning blessings.
and then there's also the Tehillim,
Right.
which are divided per day.
Oh, yeah.
And then there may be some Tehillim that you say every day, and they're
Yeah.
not the Tehillim for the day, but they are very important for you to say.
Right.
I say the Mishaberach prayer a lot during the day because I have people calling me and texting me that somebody's ill, so I'll say the Mishaberach prayer.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I have to tell you. So many people. Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
May Hashem send a refuah shlema
Right.
to all.
Right.
Speedy recovery.
And which one do you pray, Cynthia? I know you were mentioning something.
Oh, no, in the morning, Mojani, every morning when I wake up, I always say that.
Yep.
And then I sleep with a prayer book because I pray on a regular basis. It's always something.
You're supposed to say Moda.
Moda?
No, you're supposed to say Moda if you're a female.
Yes. Modat for female, Modat for male.
I've never figured out if I'm a male or female.
I have to say that so many of you have such beautiful musical ability. Very humbled.
Yes.
It's
I
nice.
love
Thank you.
Modani. Just love
I
it.
don't have musical abilities. I say that.
I
don't
love
sing.
Sholem Rav. I love that song, Sholem Rav.
Did you do that in the morning too?
You want to sing Elohai?
Yeah.
Do you want to
Let's do
Oh,
Elohai.
good.
All right, let me grab my guitar. 1 second.
Oh,
I'll
but
be
do we
right
have to?
back.
Do we have to mute again?
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi Tehorahi. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi Tehorahi. Atavirata, Atayatata, Atanaktata bi Viata Mishamra, Mishamra Birkibi. Elohai, Elohai, Mishama, Shenatata bi Tehorahi. And whoever wants this, Modani Lefaneh.